welcome everyone. Thank you for being here for today's mindfulness meditation session. And today we're going to be looking at just a basic mindfulness practice. This practice can be really helpful, a way of cultivating a sense of resilience and strength. It can also be very helpful at cultivating patience. And it's quite helpful at widening our window of tolerance so that we might be able to enter into perhaps more stressful situations without falling into reactivity or sort of pushing against that stressful situation. So I want to talk a little bit about my background first. I've been practicing mindfulness and meditation now for close to 40 years, about 37 years now. So I started when I was quite young. I was 13. I was introduced to these practices and these teachings because I had such a very trauma-filled childhood. And these practices and teachings really spoke to me as a life raft kind of thing. So it really helped and continues to help me navigate the more challenging, stressful experiences that life has to offer. I find them very helpful. I've studied quite deeply in Asia. I lived in Thailand for about 5 years. I was actually teaching and studying there. Before that, I traveled Asia extensively, living in temples and monasteries and studying quite deeply. Before that, I trained in New York and in other places in America and centers in America. And so I'm deeply trained in the Buddhist traditions and in the contemplative traditions. I come from that tradition, but I'm also very deeply trained in the Western, more secular traditions such as nonviolent communication, mindfulness-based stress reduction, trauma-informed mindfulness, and secular dharma, secular mindfulness. So I teach from a non-sectarian view. You don't have to have any religion, or whatever your religion or faith is. It has no real bearing on the practices that I offer. I've been teaching worldwide since 2009 in centers in Portugal, in Wales, in the UK, also in Thailand, Philippines, Hong Kong, Colorado, New York, Texas, and Delaware, and here live on Zoom with you all. Thank you for that. So this word mindfulness that we all know, and it's been kind of a buzzword and around the world really for the past 10 or 15 years. It comes from the word sati, which is a Pali word or a Sanskrit word, and it's kind of an unfortunate translation that we have this word mindfulness. Because sati equally means heart as it does mind. So even in today, in many of the places in Asia, there's no distinguishing word between heart and mind. The word sati equally means both heart and mind. So if you hear myself or any teacher or facilitator say, for example, put your mind on the breath or put your mind in the present moment, it could just as easily be saying put your heart on the breath, put your heart in the present moment. And even as I'm just speaking that now, I can feel a difference. There's a different texture to that. So I would invite you to explore that just now as I'm speaking, as you're listening to me speak. You might, say, okay, what does it feel like when I put my mind on the breath? Just explore that for a moment. And then letting that go, and then you might ask, okay, what does it feel when I put my heart on the breath? What does that feel like? And so you might notice a different tone there. For me, when I am invited to put my heart on the breath, there's a non-judgment around that. It's easier to meet the experience without questioning it, without doubting. Right? Because all of that doubting, all of that questioning is a cognitive exercise. Nothing wrong with that. We need to be able to do that. But here we're invited to both put our heart and our mind into the breath or into the experience, which can really help us meet that experience without that flavor of judgment. So we're invited to meet the present moment in this way. Right? And then, you'll notice the mind starts to get quite active. Very, very normal. But everyone's mind, this is the human condition. The mind wants to be creating thought. And so the technique that I do in my own practice and that I offer when I teach is whenever you notice you're distracted by your thoughts, to say the word thinking to yourself maybe 2 or 3 times. And I'll just give a little example of this. So let's say I've come to the meditation practice, I've set the timer, the bell rings, and in the practice maybe I'm feeling the breath or I'm hearing the sounds, and then my mind starts to think, oh yeah, what am I going to have for lunch today? Oh, I should go to that sandwich shop. Oh, I really like the pastrami sandwiches. Oh, my brother really likes pastrami. I wonder what my brother's doing today. I should call my brother. Oh, he's got those weird dogs. I wonder why he bought those dogs. They bark all the time. He really should get a cat. I think he would like a cat. Oh, I'm thinking. And as soon as you notice then you're distracted, you can kind of feel a difference, right? When you're in a thought like that, you're not feeling the breath anymore. You're not hearing the sound so much anymore. You're really just kind of involved in the plot line of that story. So then thinking, saying thinking to yourself 2 or 3 times, that thought will dissolve. And then you can gently, in a way, celebrate the return back to the present moment. And I say celebrate because, many people can get into this, oh, I'm not doing this right. Why am I so distracted? This isn't working for me. That's normal, natural. We tend to do that. But if we can meet the return back to the present moment with a positive quality, yes, this is working. I recognize the distraction. It's working. I can do this. Rather than getting discouraged by getting distracted, celebrating the fact that we actually were able to recognize the distraction and then return back to the present moment. That can be very helpful because, going back to that example, if we're in the present moment, we're meditating, we get distracted, we say thinking, if we come back to the present moment and start to berate ourselves, if we're getting distracted, we've put an unpleasant feeling on the return back to the present moment. And so, in a sense, we're training ourselves to stay distracted because now it doesn't feel good when we come back. Right? So we're training our awareness that it feels better if we stay distracted. So, going back to that example, if I start thinking about lunch or my brother or whatever, I say thinking, let that thought go, come back to the present moment, and then celebrate the return. Now we're putting a pleasant feeling on coming back to the present moment. This is very important. This is very powerful because now we're training our awareness that it feels better to be in the present moment than it does to stay distracted. Right? So if we can return back to the present moment with that, oh yeah, this is working. I recognize a distraction. How wonderful. Now the present moment feels better than the distraction. So I want to give a little bit of a real life example of that. And then we'll do a little bit of meditating as well. So let's say I'm going to train a puppy. Right? Some of you may have had an experience with training puppies before. It's a really lovely experience. And so I've cut out a couple of squares of newspaper and I put the newspaper on the floor. And I take my little puppy and I put her down on the newspaper. Maybe I give her a biscuit or something. I put her on the newspaper, I'm petting her and I say, good girl, good girl, and I let her go. And she runs over to one corner of the room, right? You kind of expect that from a puppy, right? So she runs over to the corner of the room. Okay, go over, you pick her up, you say, good girl, you pet her, you set her down the newspaper, you give her a biscuit, you let her go, and she runs over to the other corner of the room, right? You just go pick her up, good girl, put her back on the newspaper, and this is it. This is the method of training the puppy. Now, if I was to, put her down and let her go, and she runs over the corner of the room, and then I scold her for getting distracted, for going to the corner of the room, then she's not going to come back to the newspaper. Right? If I pick her up and say, bad girl, why did you run away? Right? And then put her down the newspaper, she's going to learn that the newspaper doesn't feel good. Right? And it's similar with our own mind. So we're trying to create this positive connection to the present moment so that it becomes easier and easier for us to keep coming back to the present moment when we get distracted whenever it happens. Now, the reason why we do that, one of the great benefits of this practice, is that we're getting stronger with our awareness, with our capacity to stay in the present moment, regardless of how challenging the present moment can be. So each time we're in a practice, we're meditating, we get distracted, we say thinking, we come back, we celebrate the return. Each time we do that over and over again, it's like we're lifting weights. We're doing reps with the awareness barbell, if you will. So each time we go through that repetition, thinking, you've done another rep, come back to the present moment, you get distracted 10 seconds later, 20 seconds later, 30 seconds later, you stay away thinking for a minute or two, note it, you come back, you've done another rep over and over again, doing those reps. So in a sense, getting discouraged by the amount of thoughts you have during a mindfulness session or meditation, it's like going to the gym and getting discouraged by the amount of weights there are in the gym. When we kind of frame it that way, it almost seems a bit silly, right? So, rather than getting discouraged by the amount of distractions you have during any given mindfulness practice, we can start to appreciate that's the workout for the day. So if you had 1,000 distractions during the meditations, you had a great workout. Really cultivating that strength and awareness so that when life gets challenging sometimes, you're able to stay with that in the present moment rather than going into that reactivity. So one of the great benefits of this practice. So the practice I would like to offer here is a present moment awareness, just a mindfulness practice, where we will start by listening to the sounds of the present moment, and then we'll bring awareness to the body and to the breath. From time to time, you might get distracted again. I'll try to remind us to use the tool of saying thinking, letting the distractions go. Again, smiling, celebrating the return. Towards the end of the practice, I'll offer just a few phrases of kindness that we offer to our own heart. It's just a nice way of bringing the practice to a close. So that's the introduction to the practice. I'm just getting my timer up here, not checking my messages or anything like that. So if you would, take a moment to get into your most comfortable meditation posture, whatever that might mean for you. And the way I've come to understand mindfulness meditation can be really done in any posture that you're comfortable in. However, if you're in danger of falling asleep, I do recommend an upright, kind of wakeful posture that can help fend off the tendency to fall asleep. So something that symbolizes wakefulness but not uptight. So perhaps a nice straight back if that's comfortable for you. Maybe having both feet on the ground if you're using a chair. Your hands maybe on your knees or on your lap, whatever's comfortable. And feel free to move postures mid-practice. There's no reason that mindfulness should be done completely still. So if you feel like your body's starting to get tense or achy, you can move. You can rotate your shoulders if that's helpful, your neck if that's helpful. Also, this can be done with your eyes open or closed. And feel free to change too. If you want to open your eyes mid-practice and then close them, or vice versa, you're always welcome to do that as well. So in a few moments' time, I'll ring the bell and I'll guide us into the practice. Enjoy. So the invitation here is just to arrive into this present moment. And there are many ways of arriving and connecting to the present moment. And for this practice, perhaps starting with the experience of sound. And so the invitation here then is to simply listen to the soundtrack of this present moment's experience. Perhaps noticing quiet, subtle sounds. Or you might notice loud, obvious sounds. Perhaps the sound of my voice. There might be sounds generated by nature, such as bird songs or crickets chirping, dog barking nearby, or perhaps a conversation unfolding in the distance. There might be sounds generated by electronics, appliances, machinery, the occasional car or truck passing by, airplane flying overhead. Perhaps noticing the sound of an air conditioner humming or a fan. Regardless of the quality of sound or the origin of sound, and perhaps noticing how sounds are always present moment experiences. So if we find we get distracted by thoughts, we can always return back to the experience of sound. So taking just a few moments here to continue settling, arriving, resting. And if at any point during the meditation you should find you get distracted by thoughts, just remember that that's normal. And smilingly recognizing the distraction, letting it go. And perhaps noting, thinking, and gently celebrating the return back to the present moment. Resting, resting. And so while we're here resting and arriving, the invitation then is, if it feels good to do so, to bring awareness to the feet. And noticing any sensation that might be there arising at the feet. You might notice the contact of the feet against the floor, the carpet, or ground. Inviting the muscles in the feet to relax, grow soft, rest. And then in the next breath or two, if it feels good to do so, we could bring awareness to the legs, from the ankles to the knees to the hips, quadriceps and thighs. If we come to an area of the body that feels activating or painful, that too is very normal. And perhaps meeting that experience with the question, can I rest with this? Can I rest with this? The answer could be no, I can't rest with that, and that's fine. Then feel free to shift awareness elsewhere, somewhere that feels more easeful and safe. Or the answer could be yes, I can rest with this, and that's fine. Just continue resting with the practice. And so while we're here resting and arriving, settling, perhaps noticing the weight of the body against the chair or cushion, perhaps noticing here what that feels like to be supported and held by the cushion and the chair. It can be a very nourishing feeling of support. And perhaps inviting the muscles underneath those sensations to relax and rest. And while we're here resting, the invitation then is to bring awareness to the hands, perhaps noticing the hands resting against the body or touching each other. Inviting the muscles in the hands to relax and rest. And then perhaps in the next breath or two, if it feels good to do so, we could bring awareness to the arms, from the wrists to the elbows to the shoulders. Inviting the muscles in the arms to relax, grow soft, rest. And then perhaps in the next breath or so, the invitation is to bring awareness to the back. Perhaps noticing the back moving out on the in-breath and in on the out-breath. Inviting the muscles in the back to relax, grow soft, rest. It could be that we come to an area of the body that doesn't want to relax and rest, and that's fine, that's normal. And just noting that, if that's what's there for you, not trying to force anything or make anything happen. And then while we're here resting, as a reminder, if you should find you get distracted by thoughts, remembering that that's normal. Smilingly recognizing the distraction, noting it thinking, and gently celebrating the return back. Sensations of the body, sounds. And then, in the next breath or two, if it feels good to do so, we could bring awareness to the abdomen, perhaps noticing the rising and falling of the abdomen with each breath. It's quite common for the human body to contain tension or stress in the abdomen. If you notice any stress or tension there, just inviting that to release, relax, let go. And then, in the next breath or two, if it feels good to do so, we could bring awareness to the upper torso, and perhaps noticing the expanding and contracting of the rib cage with each breath. Noticing if there's any tension around the heart area or in the upper back, and inviting that to relax if any tension is there, just inviting that to let go. Resting, resting. And then, in the next breath or two, if it feels good to do so, bringing awareness to the back of the neck, the sides of the neck, inviting the muscles in the neck to relax, rest. Perhaps noticing sensations arising throughout the cheeks of the face. Letting any tension or stress that's held in the face soften and unwind. If it's helpful, perhaps unhooking the jaw and moving the jaw muscles, inviting the muscles in the jaw to soften and unwind, rest. Perhaps noticing too any tension behind the eyes, around the eyes. Inviting the eyes to relax and rest, soften. And noticing any sensations arising from the top of the head, the very crown of the head. Resting, resting. And while we're here resting, arriving, settling, once again here, if you notice you get distracted by thoughts, again remembering how normal that is. This is the human condition. The mind wants to think. Noting the thoughts thinking, gently celebrating the return back to the present moment each time. So while we're here resting, we'll begin offering phrases of kindness into our own heart. Really, the intention here is to practice being kind to ourselves. Perhaps as a good friend might be kind to us, or perhaps similar to how we might be offering kindness to a good friend. We can train to be our own good friend. So moving into the phrases here. May I feel safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. If it's helpful, Maybe placing a hand over your heart as you offer these phrases to yourself. This is called a supportive, compassionate move. Maybe a hand over your shoulder if that's helpful. Or you might offer a hand of support to a good friend. Maybe both hands over the heart if that's helpful. And again, moving into the phrases, may I feel safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. If you're using that move of compassionate touch, then the invitation is just to let the hands rest wherever's comfortable. Just feeling what's here. You might feel some warmth. You might feel some resistance around the practice. You might feel settled and peaceful, turbulent and distracted. There's no wrong or right result of meditation practice, really. It's all practice. And it's all great benefit. So in a few moments' time, we'll begin to shift away from the guided meditation, and I'll cue that by ringing the bell. Thank you so much for joining me in today's offering. If any questions come up around the practice, please always feel free to reach out. You can contact me through my website, www.suchsweetthunder.org. And if your eyes are closed, you might just gently open them and start to look around the room. Reorienting yourself after a practice, and just be kind to yourself coming out of a practice. Take your time landing and so forth. Once again, thanks for being here, and I look forward to encountering you next time.